Who's going to start?
How about you start and I'll interrupt you? How's it sound for the plan?
Okay, so we are Josh and Melanie Rosenthal. We started life as entrepreneurs. We started our first company a number of years ago now. And so we decided from the early days that when we had kids that we would incorporate them as much as possible.
We homeschool them during the morning and we're doing our thing on the side and we kind of go back and forth. So yeah, it'd be tough to kind of send them off and do their own thing. And also we're just sort of not wired that way.
We can spend our time working on the things that are important. We have 3 girls. Lydia is the oldest, 10. Junia is the middle child at 7, and Afia is 4.
Yeah, 3rd child, youngest child is probably the easiest description.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Very outgoing, very energetic, very curious.
A fun-loving kid for sure. We just notice Affie's vision is, it seems like she's having problems. There were times where you could sort of really clearly see this behavior that she was struggling, but there were other times that it was not noticeable.
We just assumed it was she'd need glasses.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go in thinking you're gonna look for glasses, and they basically say, hey, we can't find anything physiologically wrong with her eye, so you probably need to go in and get an MRI. It must be something else.
And her MRI showed what was almost certainly a craniopharyngioma, and a CAT scan would confirm that. It is a benign brain tumor in a malignant location. Well, the problem with a growing craniopharyngioma is that its impact is insidious, and you can have irreparable damage by the time you get a discovery of what the problem is. These can be a horrible surprise on autopsy. Why did my baby die?
So went from eyeglass appointment in the morning to staying in the hospital until the procedure.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal. At some level, it's a stepping up and saying, this is what we're called to do, right? This is what it means to be like a mom and a dad. It's easy to do it when times are great and times are easy, and anybody can do that. But what are you going to do when you're the mom and dad and sitting with your 3-year-old, in the hospital, trying to decide which way they should cut her head open?
So at that point, you're kind of spinning around trying to figure out, what's going on. You have a good deal of uncertainty, and you're doing your research as best you can, and calling through your network of pediatric neurosurgeons on the national stage, saying, all right, here's the situation. What do you think? We didn't know, too much about Norton. We just assumed we had to go up to Children's or down to St. Jude to go kind of anywhere nationally to deal with it. And then our neurosurgeon on staff at the company said, no, Norton, particularly Moriarty, we're very well known and very well thought of on the national scene, and so you need to stay there.
For craniopharyngiomas, the greatest risk to it is treating it and protecting everything normal around it. Because as long as people have been treating craniopharyngiomas, the treatments have often been as bad, if not worse, than the disease.
Moriarty and the whole team was not just rushing in immediately and saying, all right, let's do this, but being able to take a step back and catch your breath and think through, what's the most immediate thing we can do, but what's actually the best thing we need to do.
So you get all the members of the multidisciplinary team together to come see radiation oncology, medical oncology, endocrinology, neurology, and surgery. And then we all sit and talk about best approaches. But for her, it seemed like the best chance to treat her was to do a more formal open procedure.
We were working with a lot of doctors in the day job, kind of on the national scene. You sort of develop an ability to kind of get a read on someone pretty quickly. So we're super confident, and them and the team. Also the nurses. The neuro nurses are just aces.
Mm-hmm. I know Dr. Moriarty, even in terms of the surgical room and how he keeps the room so that there's a reduced chance of infection. You could go on all day, right? And again, nobody's going to point that out and say, hey, did you do that? But it's just the intentionality of putting together a world-class team.
That day, we got a complete removal, and her vision improved immediately.
what you're sort of facing is this is going to do damage, from personality to behavior to physiological to, all of your hormones the rest of your life, much less to being blind. And none of that really happened.
There were all sorts of decisions and risks and people sitting down and being bold enough to have a vision to say, let's try and do this. Like, we want to say thank you for all of that, right? They were committed to doing it and, put their heart into it and did a fantastic job. Now we have a very, very healthy 4-year-old, because of that.
And what Norton's done, it's great that it worked out for Affy, and that's a good success story, and you definitely want to praise that. But like the bigger picture, the broader lesson in it is that kind of deciding to build, a world-class, specialty center, particularly a neurocenter, a pediatric neurocenter, that actually is economically viable and has these downstream effects, right? You're not just going to kind of a regional hospital and poking around. You actually give people, the people working there, the opportunity to practice elite care and learn from one another and do that with patients. And eventually, if you do it, it builds up a critical mass. And once that ball gets rolling, it's good for everyone.